All right. Good morning, everyone. Hey, let me do this. Give me 1 second here. Actually, my Bluetooth speaker isn't hooked up to the computer, so that's not a concern. Let me turn this speaker on, though. All right, everyone, let me make this announcement over on my main channel. I see the master teacher has announced this stream in his network. So this may get some numbers. So let me make the announcement over on my main channel, and then we'll watch the intro, and then we'll get this started. Kereen, I sent it to your Gmail as well. I'd rather you try to come in that way than as opposed to me throwing it in the chat right now and other folks come in. So try it through your your Gmail. I just sent the link over there. If not, I'll just throw the link in the chat and I'll bring you up that way. But let me make this announcement. Okay, so that's been shared over on the original Big Discussions 76 channel. So I am going to play the intro, and then on the other side, we will jump into this because this is a triple header for me. I'm doing this one, and then I have a Michigan versus Penn State pregame show over my sports channel around noon. Okay, Kereen, I see you. And then later on tonight, over on my original channel, I'm hosting Artisan, and we're going to talk about carpentry and the blue collar trades. So, I'll see you on the other side of the intro. All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussion 76, Entertainment and Media. First of all, please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Let's see. This morning, we're going to do a review / discussion of the 2021 Dune movie. I'm going to have Kereen pilot this one with me. Okay. Kereen is backstage. I'm going to bring her up. She says she can't hear me. Wolf, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Say something. Is it me or is it because I'm not muted? Wolf says your internet looks like it's running okay today. Wolf, if you're still out there, can you let me know if you hear me? I see 4 people looking at me. Can you hear me? Is there anything wrong with my audio? Anyone? Let me take a look at myself on YouTube. I can see myself on YouTube. Okay. Of the 5 people watching, can you hear me? Okay, let me type it in the chat. Oh, Kereen. Okay, so she can hear me now. Okay, and none of the other people looking at this have said anything. So if you can hear me, say yes, say yay or nay, put a 1 in the chat, whatever. But anyway, where was I? Thank you, Wolf. All right, guys, this t-shirt I'm wearing, this is from the movie Space Detective. My brother helped promote. He helped produce this. This is Shiro and Jenks. I like to wear this whenever I can. I'll probably have those guys, the Swamp Media Group, come back over here and talk about it the more I grow this channel out. But anyway, it's a triple header for me today. I'm doing this stream. I'm doing a sports stream, Wolf, over on the sports channel around noon, discussing our game against Penn State. That's coming up. And then later on tonight, I'm doing a show with Artisan MC over on my original channel to talk about the blue collar trades. As a federal civilian employee, we have the day off. Happy Veterans Day! Thank you to all the veterans for your service. And you're off from your 9 to 5, but that gives you more time to work on your 5 to 9, and eventually, maybe at some point, you can replace your 9 to 5 with your 5 to 9. So, we're gonna me and Kereen, we're gonna talk about Dune. I saw it about 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, and I think Kereen has seen it too. And as I'll describe, last night I actually pulled down the I had to go onto Amazon Prime because my HBO Max, I think something's going on with my cable provider, and my subscription to HBO Max expired, so I couldn't pull it down there. So I had to go rent it, the original 1984 version, and I watched most of it before I nodded off. It was a long day. But anyway, I'm going to bring Kereen up because I want this to be a 2-person thing. So I'm actually excited that Kereen is here doing this one with me, because I realized on my channels, most of my guests are men, and so I want to kind of balance that out a little bit. So I'm happy that you're here, Kereen. Good morning, Kereen.
Good morning, everyone. And I want to also wish everyone a happy Veterans Day and thank everyone for their service as well.
Okay. And I'm glad you can hear me, Kereen.
Yes, I
You know,
had some
Kareem,
issues.
hey, if anyone who's watching, please hit that like button. Um, I don't have a super chat here. This is my smallest channel, but I will, at one point throw my Cash App and PayPal in there if anyone wants to make a donation. Kareem, as we were approaching this show, I was thinking that, when I first saw you over on the Roger Report, I thought you were a troublemaker.
Right. Everybody thinks that. I don't know why. Like, I mean,
I thought you were coming to
yeah,
antagonize us.
I mean, okay, for one thing, like what I like about YouTube, social media, the
Yeah,
chat is to interact with people. Like I'm not a troublemaker, but if I don't agree with certain things, I'm gonna say it. I
yeah.
mean, I know you typing fast, some of the words come out crazy or whatever, but I was never there to like antagonize people. And some of the things I've never heard, like to be honest, I know they was like, oh, women know some of the stuff I learned so much. Like a lot of the things I didn't even know. The stats that you guys were telling me, I had no idea about, and believe it or not, a lot of people, a lot of females, like normal females, I'm not talking about the crazy ones, don't know these stats.
Hmm. Okay.
So, but anyway,
All right. Well,
we're here for Dune.
yeah. So let's segue into that. The more I started interacting with you, I think you're one of the folks who's come over to this channel because you have an interest in media and movies and TV shows, and I started to realize that you were a bit of a fangirl yourself.
Right.
So I kind of sent you our discussion points last night, but
Hmm.
can you start by telling us a little bit about how you became a fangirl? Because I was impressed that you knew so much about Dune, and just superhero stuff, science fiction stuff. You know a lot. So how did you start to get into this?
Oh, well, I started from a child, really. Like I actually watched Dune when I was maybe like 12, 11. The Roger Lynch version, the 1984 version. I saw it on TV several times and I would watch it over the years and I always liked it. At that time I didn't understand a lot about it. Um, then I saw the sci-fi version, which was a little bit more detailed. That was on a sci-fi channel. At that time, the sci-fi used to do very good movies. Now they do a lot of reality shows, but at that time the sci-fi was like a wonderful channel to do all kind of different like great different movies that you're not seeing on regular TV. And then when I heard that they were doing this movie, I will always listen to. There's a channel that I listen to as well. He's a brother. It's Quinn Ideas. I know. I'm sorry. Should I ask you first before I even mention his
I don't
channel?
care.
But he's like he goes into like Dune. He is a Dune. He's into the Duneverse, and it's actually a word. Duneverse is a word.
Wow.
There's another channel also called Nerd Cookies. She's a female. She's into it as well. I think she's Caucasian. I don't know her race, but she doesn't. I don't think she's a person of color. So and then and then I didn't read the book. I never read the book, but I've watched the movie
Hmm.
several times. And then I'm artisan. I'm I'm an artisan channel too because he's a comic book and they talk about a lot of like comic books, movies as well. And he was like, and we were talking about Dune. He's like, "Did you ever read the book?" And I was like, "No, I've actually never read the book." So this is over like the late spring, right? I think late
Hmm.
spring. And I was like, you know what? Let me get the book. And I read the book and I was like, oh my God, what have I been missing? And I read the first book and then I read the second book and now I'm on the third book, The Children of Dune.
Okay.
And then I went and saw the movie. And actually, I watched the Roger Lynch version 3 times before I watched the new movie, the Denny Villeneuve. I could never pronounce his name. He's French
I don't
Canadian.
know.
Sorry, yeah, French. He's French Canadian. His version of it, and I watched a lot of interviews, and I even watched a lot of interviews from not a lot, but few interviews from Frank Herbert because there's a couple on YouTube. The writer of the book, Dune, he created it,
Hmm.
and he was talking about the book and what he wanted the book to mean, and then all the sci-fi things that we watch, like the Star Wars, um, the a lot of things they take from Dune. Star Wars took from Dune. A lot of the ideas George Lucas because George Lucas did a lot of different genre, different books, and he meshed it. He created Star Wars. So I was like, you know what, how could I have missed out on this all these years? Because I'm a person who loved to read, but I never was really into sci-fi books as much as the movies. I always loved the movies. I watch like every sci-fi movie that is coming out, I'm gonna watch it, you know? So that's how I got into it.
Okay. So everyone, so just for our background, so Kereen, you read books 1, 2, and 3?
I'm up to 3 now.
Up to 3 now. Okay.
Hmm.
So
There's 6 books in the series, and then there's prequels as well. So it's a lot of books.
okay, so between the two of us here now, Kereen is the authority figure. I've got my one. I read the first book. Here's my beat up copy from. I think I bought this in the 1990s, and I might have been contemplating becoming a writer at that point. But this, if you're interested in science fiction and writing, this is a what's the word I'm looking for? The Dune series is a must, just
Right.
like Foundation. And I only read one of the Foundation books, but
Right.
there's a whole pantheon of
Right.
theories that if you're into this, that you kind of need to know. And Kareem just mentioned that George Lucas, when he created Star Wars, he borrowed from Dune. And as I was watching the 1984 version last night, I was kind of thinking, this kind of feels like Star Wars in a way. It's a little bit different, but I'm feeling some commonalities here. So it's good that you said that and you pointed that out for us, guys. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. Please definitely get the engagement up. This is my smallest channel, but every like counts. So okay, let me take a look at my my framework here because I'm very organized.
You are.
Let's see. So, hey, let's take a quick look at Frank Herbert because people don't know who this guy is. I'm sure they're besides us. But
Yeah.
this is a picture of Frank Herbert. He's the creator of this Dune universe. I just pulled this article up. It's entitled "How He Felt About the 1984 Movie." So, I don't know if he's British. I know Tolkien was from Europe. Asimov sounds like he's Russian.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read the book, I'll say the prose. I think that's the right word for it. The prose, the way this read, it was like reading the Lord of the Rings in a way.
Right.
It wasn't,
Well, he's.
and we do break a lot of English rules here in the
Mhm.
United States, but this was very it felt like textbook, almost biblical English, and also you're also trying to figure out the world he's creating. We'll talk about that, but that's what I remember about reading this. I kind of had to kind of sit down and focus and kind of say what's he saying here because it just wasn't a type of English that I was used to. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was born in the 20s, so I mean, if you Google him, he said he's American.
Yep.
He died on my birthday. Fun fact, he died on my birthday. Wow. But anyway, I mean, yeah, it's that epic type of book that you're reading. You're reading some, yeah, when you read it, you're reading something grand. I guess that's why he wrote it like that, to make it regal too, because remember the story, when you go to Dune is about this kind of like a feudal system. The people are in charge are like elite families, like a feudal system like we had in the past. So
Yep.
I guess that's why I had that tone.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you know what, Kareem,
Hey
that's a good.
Toya.
Hey, Toya, thank you for stopping through. Probably on your way to the TRR.
Yeah, we won't
Let's
be
see.
long.
Yeah. I'll probably take a peek over there too. Wolf says, I saw the original movie in the 80s and remember not understanding it. It was over my head, I guess. Yeah, so this is
Me
a good
too.
segue. This is a good segue into just like Tolkien and just like Asimov, he basically created his own world. And as Kereen just mentioned, it's rooted in a feudal system. So you're hearing names like you're hearing titles like emperor and duke, and house. And so when you read that's when you kind of realize, okay, he's creating kind of a quasi feudal medieval European world, but in outer space in the future with space travel and well, I don't want to give all that away, but that's kind of what he created.
Correct. Yeah, it's a galactic empire, like Star Wars, galactic empire.
Okay, I'm gonna if anyone on the playback wants to make a donation to the channel, I'm just gonna drop this in right now. Let's see, and then we'll move on. Okay.
And the reason why also I wanted to like go and read the books
Yes.
was because I wanted to like I said, I saw the movie, the 1984 version, about 10 times already,
Hmm.
growing up through the years. And I've seen I've seen the sci-fi one a couple of times as well. So I said, let me read the book. And when I read the book, it's everything, you understand everything so much more. Even when you watch the movie, you could tell, you could really tell that this director Denny was such a fan, because certain details I'll mention later on that he included in the book, that I was like, wow, he included this in the book. And when you see the Dave Lynch version, you don't really, you could tell that it was just like a glossary. It wasn't really, he didn't put certain details that a fan would, So
Hmm.
that's why I love this new current version.
So you're talking about when you say the David Lynch version, the 1984.
Yeah, 1984. David Lynch was the director. He with the Raffaellas, that was back, those old time producers. He was the one who directed it back then. I mean, I guess he wanted more, but it was a lot of drama back then too. Why
Yeah.
he could actually wanted to do two separate movies, and actually it's gonna be two separate movies. They're gonna do a Doom Part 2, guys. I don't know if you wanted me to announce that, but
No,
it's
that's
in the
okay.
press. It's in the press. They're gonna do a part 2, because you have to tell the story in two parts. It's so vast. It's not a story that you could just tell in one movie,
Yeah.
and they forced him to rush it. So that's why to me, the movie wasn't as comprehensive and as detailed, because he had to kind of rush everything into one movie.
Yeah. So I guess this is a good time for us to segue into just to talk briefly about the 1984 movie. But before we do, um, going back to actually reading the books, well, Kereen, as we talked about when I was talking about the Eternals, uh, you can't always trust the movie studio to tell the story exactly like it was told in the book. I mean, sometimes for practicality purposes, they have to switch things up, but even especially in today's era where they're looking to put narratives in front of us, you can't always trust them to tell the story the way it was meant to be told. So that's why reading the books are important.
I agree.
Let's see. And that's another good point that you mentioned about uh this one. Yeah, well, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but there is going to be a second movie. And as I was pulling up the 1984 version last night, I saw that it was 2 hours and 16 minutes. And as I said, it was a long day. I worked out. I did kind of nod off. It was getting towards midnight, but it was over. And I was thinking, okay, I just saw this movie. It's split into two. How are they going to squeeze everything into 2 hours? So that's huge that you just mentioned that. So the 1984 movie, we'll talk briefly about that, and then we'll jump into the main event.
What I want to say about I mean, fans are saying they did like it. A lot of people do like the original. I
Yeah.
actually like the 1984, because I love colors. I'm always bringing colors when I talk about certain shows because colors emotes certain things. And one thing I love, well, movies in the 80s generally had a lot of color. Like if you look at those sci-fi, those superhero movies, all those movies in the 80s had like this wonderful color to it. And Dune had that. This Dune was a bit more subdued, but the story, it made sense for the story. But and that's one of the things that I loved about that. And I loved, I think Black Uru commented that one of the actor that played the nun, the Mother Superior head, she
Hmm.
did a better the acting some of the acting was better in the 1984 version as opposed to this version.
Okay. I would agree with you. It When I looked at it last night, even just the technology. Technology's come a long way. Camera equipment has come a long way. Just special effects and all those things have come a long way. But it very much looked like a 1980s movie in terms of the imagery and the color and even the music. And I think, if I recall correctly, I think James Newton Howard did the soundtrack for that. I saw that. And James Newton Howard, for those of you who don't know, he was involved with the Christopher Nolan Batman. Him and Hans Zimmer, they collaborated on the music for at least 2 out of 3 of those movies. So he was doing this back in the 1980s. But one of the things I noticed watching the movie, in writing and production, there's a thing called showing and not telling. I noticed as I was watching the 1984 movie last night, they were doing a lot of telling about the story world and about the characters and about just what was going on. They did some telling in the 2021 movie that we just saw, but I guess maybe because they had to squeeze everything into one movie, they told us a lot uh, in the first movie, as opposed to letting us just see it unfold through the story itself. So I thought that was interesting. Um, so this is the cast from the 1984 movie. Who'd you say the director was? Was it
David Lynch.
David Lynch? Okay. Kyle MacLachlan played Paul Atreides. His mother, Francesca, played Lady Jessica, who was the concubine of Duke Leto Atreides. Patrick Stewart played Gurney Halleck. Of course, you recognize him as soon as he walks in. That was before the Captain Picard days. Probably the most famous person in the movie was Sting, who played Fade Rauta. Sean Young. Who remembers Sean Young's probably biggest role? Anybody? Anybody? I know you know Kereen. Sean Young, Sean Young's biggest role, which he's most known for, probably. Do you know
Blade
what, Kereen?
Runner.
Blade
Blade
Runner.
Runner.
Yeah. Rachel. She plays Rachel, the replicant. Let's see. Brad Dourif played Peter DeVries. I'm not going to go through over all these, but this guy, yeah, Jurgen Prochnow played Duke Leto Atreides, and Kenneth McMillan played Vladimir Harkonnen. And the that portrayal of Vladimir Harkonnen in the '84 movie was very grotesque. They were going for some really
Yes.
I don't know what he was doing to that kid, because they didn't show what he was doing to that kid who brought the flowers in, but just the way they put those pus bubbles on his face, and it was very grotesque.
He's known to be a nasty person in the book. The way they describe him, he's kind of I wouldn't say a pedophile. That's a strong word, but he's described as being a very nasty person, nasty individual. Powerful, strong, but nasty in his demeanor.
Okay. So that's the cast from the 1984 movie. Again, it was condensed into 2 hours and 17 minutes. And as me and Karina just discussed, there are what, 6 books to this thing, and so
And
they
prequels as well, but the
and
prequels
prequels.
weren't written by. It was written by his son and another person. So I mean, I don't know. A lot of people don't like them. A lot of fans don't like them, but there
Hmm.
are prequels as well to understand the background, like why they don't. I don't want to go into so much, but like the jihad, the Bhutaran jihad was the thing where the reason why they needed the spice was because they got rid of all thinking machines. All AIs was destroyed in that revolt. So that books give you a background of all the things prior before before this what took place on Arrakis. Dune. Arrakis is Dune. It's another name for Dune.
Yep.
So yeah, it's so yeah. A lot of people don't like it because it's not Frank Herbert writing it. I mean, it's his son, but they felt that it's not his vision. But his son was like he had outlines,
Hmm.
and he used that. But you know how fans are.
Yeah. Well, the same thing happened with Tolkien. Hey guys, if you're coming in, if you're gonna stay for a minute, if you're gonna stay for the entirety of it, please hit the like. That engagement really helps. If you're gonna bounce in, bounce out, that's fine, but hit that like button. Um. So yeah. Oh, I was gonna say Tolkien. I think his son, after Tolkien died, his son was charged with continuing to tell, the surrounding background information and the prequels and all those different things. So we see that a lot with these types of things. Their children their children take on that responsibility somehow. Okay, so so Kareem, let's talk about the 2021 movie, and we'll talk about the story because it's in books. It's not like it's unknown.
Right.
Then we'll talk about our impressions of the 2021 movie, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Let me pull up the cast so everybody can see what we're talking about. And when the first movie came out, when I was 8 years old, so I didn't really understand
Yeah. I
any of
was. I maybe was. Well, it was 1984. How old was I? Probably 5 or 6. Yeah, 6. But I just came to this when the movie came out. I was in Jamaica. So yeah, yeah. When the movie came out, I was in Jamaica. So I would have never seen it anyway.
that. Okay. Yeah. Now I will say I was very much a Star Wars kid and
Hmm.
a Star Trek kid. Star Trek
Hmm.
Through the Wrath of Khan. That was. I was
Right.
into that.
Wrath of Khan is one of the best Star Trek movies out there. Yeah, and I haven't seen. I just saw that too in the late 80s as well. I didn't see that in the movie theaters because I was a young kid as
Yep.
well. So, but a lot of these things got introduced to me because they were on TV. And remember, back then, all you had was TV. We didn't have, you didn't have like they had cable, but it was expensive for most people.
Well,
Uh,
and you also couldn't choose what you wanted to watch.
right,
Now you
right,
have Hulu and
right, right.
Sling and Netflix, and you can literally choose what you want to watch. Back then, if they didn't program it, if it wasn't in their lineup,
Hmm.
you couldn't watch it. If it wasn't on, that's when VCRs were out in the 80s, but unless you had that technology and unless it was released, you were at the
Right.
mercy of the stations and what they were going to show you.
Yeah, and if you're lower, I was lower middle class. You had two working parents. You had a regular TV. You weren't, you could go to the movies every now and then, but it wasn't like it is now. The media, we have so much more access to media now than we did back then.
Hmm. Okay, so everyone, this is the cast for the. Let's see that this says show more. Well, there are a few more folks in there. As you can see, similar to the Eternals, a much more diverse cast in terms of ethnic makeup. So let's just briefly go over who these people are. Kereen, you can stop me. You can chime in. This is we're co-piloting this thing.
Sure.
Uh, Timothy Chalamet plays Paul Atreides.
Chalamet, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I
Chalamet.
might be wrong too. He's French. He's I think his father's French.
Okay. I'm always butchering names. My brother had to
Yeah.
correct me on how to say Ewan McGregor. I didn't say that correctly the first time. I never seen the name before. Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, I get it.
Let's see.
He was good. He was good as Paul. I loved his acting. I
I
loved
thought he
him.
was. Yeah, I thought he was as well. A little more kind of mysterious,
Right.
younger than the previous iteration.
He played it right because Paul is supposed to be 15 in the book.
Is he?
So yes, in the book I think he's 15. Yeah. So I mean, and the prior guy, he was a little bit older. He was in his early 20s or mid 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know Zendaya. She plays Shani. Rebecca Ferguson, she played Lady Jessica. Oscar Isaac
Love him. He was
played,
great.
yeah, played Duke Leto Atreides. I'm trying to think of his name from the Star Wars reboot, but I didn't see the third movie. So I can't think of the.
He's been in so many movies. He's gonna be in so many movies.
Hold on.
This guy is like his wife must be so happy because he's in everything. He's a new Moonlight. He's gonna be play the main character in Moonlight. He was in X-Men Apocalypse. He's in like 6 movies this year alone. This
Okay.
guy.
Poe Dameron. I know
yes, Poe.
One of those spectacular Star Wars names I couldn't think of, but Poe Dameron. Okay. Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Hattie. Aquaman.
Dothraki. Stellan Skarsgård plays Vladimir Harkonnen. And I'll just say this right now because I'm doing a lot of this off the top of my head. I didn't realize in the 2021 movie, Vladimir Harkonnen is supposed to be a large and imposing character.
Right.
And then the 1984 movie, they probably didn't have the technology to do that.
Right.
But they portrayed that in this movie. Javier Bardem, Stilgar, he, who I believe is the leader of the Fremen.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't remember, he played a key role in Collateral with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise. He was the gangster that was trying to kill off all of the witnesses. So he played a good guy in this one. David Bautista plays Glasu Rabin. We know him from Guardians of the Galaxy. He made a quick appearance in the latest Blade Runner in the beginning, got killed off early. Josh Brolin, Gurney Halleck, David, I can't say this, Das Malchian, Peter DeVries. I'm just going to run them through a few more of these. Charlotte Rampling was gay as Helen Mo. Where is it? Oh, well, it's inconsequential. Steve McKinley, I was surprised to see him in this. He's been in several quote unquote black movies. He had a key role in Fences. And Sharon Duncan Brewster. They made Leah Kynes a black woman.
Right.
In the 1984 movie, it was a white man.
Yeah, the majority of the cast was white and male.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to do that because diversity thing. I think they have a diversity pack or something where they have to have certain amount of gender and race in each movie.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked that character, which it doesn't matter if she's a girl or boy. It was the gender didn't matter. In some movies it does, but this one it didn't.
Okay, interesting. And then Babs, I'm trying to say this. Yeah, Babs Olu Senmoken plays Jameis, and then I think I'll just stop there because I can just
Yeah, these are a really like,
we're getting into
you
the
know,
supporting actors
yeah,
and actresses now. Okay, but I'll keep them up here, the main cast members. So you want to just go briefly over the story for? I mean, we've kind of done that already,
right.
but as described, this takes place across what, 4 planets, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a space aged feudal system with an
Right.
emperor and dukes and duchesses and witches, the Ben Gesserit
You call
witches.
them witches? I wouldn't say they are witches.
I thought in the book they were witches, the Ben
Um
Gesserit, or in order. They're in order.
their
Yes.
order, they're like is genetic manipulation. They did it through genetic manipulation. Remember, because in this time the technology is limited, so everything is done based on breeding, and they cultivated a way of breeding smart women and having women who knows how to have the power where they have the power to speak, to like to influence people with their speak.
Yes.
They're warriors too. They're warrior. I would say warrior nuns, because in the book they're warriors as well. They're not only just, they're soft power, but they also can be vicious. They know how to fight as well. Because in this story, she's fighting. You know, in the end, she does show that she knows how to fight.
Hmm.
Um. So yeah,
And also there's an element of controlling bloodlines, right?
right. Blood. Yeah,
And
genetic manipulation. They're the ones that been in the background, trying to get things their way for generations and generations. So really they're the power behind everything, you know?
yes, yes, you can make that argument.
Right.
Make that argument. And so and allegedly, well, that's probably the wrong word, but the way it's written, what they only want female children to have the power. Is that right? Because I know that it's an issue that um Lady Jessica has born a son.
Yeah. Well, okay, what happens is they want to create the Messiah person, you would call him. I would just say Messiah. That's the name of the third book, but just so people can understand that's not fans. Um yeah, they only have female children. However, Jessica had a male because her love for her duke. She's a concubine. She loves him. He wanted a son. She gave him a son. He also has powers because of her. She's a Bene Gesserit. They're born with special ability to speak to people. They have a control. They could speak to people with their the way they speak and get them to do what they want, to manipulate people.
Hmm.
um and Paul also has is supposed to be the Quizak Hazarak, which is the person who could he came early. He was born early because they wanted him to be born 2 generations in the future, not now, not right now. And he that was a problem for the head superior. I would call it the head superior, the mother superior, because that wasn't a part of her plan, and she disobeyed her directive and had a son for the duke instead of a girl.
Okay. Thank you for filling all of that in. I would not have remembered that detail. Okay, so you have that aspect of the story, and then what's unique about Dune, that, and my knowledge of all of these canons is limited, but what stood out to me is that there's a huge economics slash geopolitical aspect to this story.
Right. With the
And
spice.
yeah, so please fill in and correct me if I'm wrong, but a large basis of this story is the spice,
Right.
and the spice allows.
For everything. I mean, the spice is a special it's a special I would say fuel. It helps with space travel because in this time they don't have AI. They only have certain. They do have AI, but very limited, and
Mhm.
they have guilds, like they have people who are trained to do certain jobs. So they have the space navigators who navigate flight. But the spice is the engine that makes them, give them the ability to do that, do that. The spice also gives Paul the ability to hone in on his powers. It's a special, it's everything. I mean, the way he describes the spice is so powerful. It's like it's oil. It's so much how to say it thing. It's what needed in that world to survive. If you, whoever controls the spice, like it says in the book, control the universe, because that's the power that universe is run on that spice, and it's only found on Arrakis Dune. So that's where it takes place. That this Duke, the Emperor Shaddam, sends Duke Leo and his family to Arrakis to mine the spice, and to because the former people who was controlling it, they were stealing the spice, and they were, underhanding, doing underhanded things. And also it was like a political thing. He wanted to get rid of the Duke as well, because the Duke was being, everyone loved the Duke. The Duke was charismatic. The Duke would, if they left the Duke alone, the Duke probably would overtake the Emperor. That's his mindset. So that's why
Yep.
he sent them to Arrakis to actually get him killed, because it was a plot between him and the other guy that was there, the Duke Harkonnen,
Yep.
to get rid of the Duke Leto,
Atreides.
the Atreides. He's the house of Atreides. And they also have beef. They have beef, of generational beef between the Harkonnens. The previous people that took over was running Arrakis, Dune, and so it was like, it's a lot of intrigue too, a lot of political backhanded thing going on.
Right. So we're gonna come back to that, but the piece about the spice being the most important commodity in the story world and needing to mine it, needing it to do all these things, that's parallel to what in history, what we saw in Africa,
Right.
the Middle East,
Right.
colonizing North America, and I would also argue that that's probably also James Cameron also probably borrowed that for Avatar, right?
Right. I was gonna say that as well. Avatar has some, you could tell Avatar 2 did steal a lot from Dune as well. With the world building and with the geopolitical thing as well. Um Now, yeah. So yeah, with the resource, the spice is a resource. So on Arrakis is hard though. It's a resource that's needed, but it's hard to come by because it's a desolate planet, and only certain amount of people can live on this planet and and mine the spice, which are the Fremen people who are, who are actually kind of like slave labor. I want to say slave labor, but how would you call them? Um they're colonized. They colonized them. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that the emperor was and were colonizing them, they were working for them. I would see that the emperor was like a colonizer, if you want to go back to like the past.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's arguably like the British Empire going across
Right.
the globe, taking over people's lands, enslaving them, and extracting the resources out of
Right.
their world.
Right.
But the other reason why Arrakis is so hazardous is because of the worms,
Right. The worms. The worms.
the massive worms.
Worms.
Yeah,
And I love the way he depicted it in this movie. It was done very well. Like, what, there was a scene when the worm just opened up, and you felt like, I saw the movie in IMAX. I don't know if you saw it in IMAX, but when the worm opened up, I was like, oh, it was done well. I loved that. I loved the cinematography, and I loved the way they did the special effects in this particular movie.
yeah, yeah, and I'll argue that the worms, even just that aspect. So Karina, you're probably younger, but in the 1980s, let me see if I can pull it up. I witnessed, the first Nintendo. I'm dating myself now. The first Nintendo, the first Sega, and that whole line of games on both of those systems. And there was a game called, let's see if I could pull up a nice picture of it. I'll just go to images. Yeah. There was a really cool role-playing game on the Sega Master System. It was called Phantasy Star. I still
Okay.
think about playing that game. And they on that game, it mixed swords and creatures and ghouls and spaceships and robots and pretty much everything was in that game. And you got to go to 3 to 4 different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
One was a desert world, one was a forest world. Well, the game started on a forest world, but you also got to go to an ice world and a forest ice world and a desert world. And the desert world had worms on it, massive worms.
Mm-hmm.
And in hindsight, they took that from Dune.
Right. And even Dune had I think a board game in the late 70s,
Yeah.
early 80s as well. I mean, I don't remember it because I never played it, but I know that if you Google it too, you could find that they had like little board games for people because people were still fans. I mean, people read his books because I think his book was written in the early 60s, right? Uh it was written and people loved it. I mean, I think this movie could be a intergenerational movie too because
Mhm.
even though it's a lot of older people because we remember the books. I still think like teenagers, maybe not young kids, but teenagers can get into this, because it's such a fascinating story and the world building is amazing. The different how he came up with all these different things. I mean, I know he borrowed from a lot of stuff in the history, but I'm always fascinated when I watch sci-fi how people mind works.
Mhm. Mhm.
This guy says Atari 2600.
Yeah, that's old school. That's
uh,
old school. So I did see in my lifetime, I did witness the coming of the Atari, just like the Macintosh computer and the Nintendo and the Sega and all those different things. So, guys, please hit that like button. I see folks coming in. I know there are a bunch of shows going on, but if you're gonna drop in for a minute, please definitely hit the like, get the engagement up. So yeah, so Fantasy Star very much borrowed from Dune, but then going back to George Lucas borrowed from Dune too with Tatooine.
right.
Yes.
Tatooine. Yep. Tatooine is just like Arrakis, just like Dune. You see, you see it. The only thing they didn't have is, well, they do have some worms and stuff, but not as like they didn't try to make it as obvious.
Yeah.
But you definitely could see the similarities as from Dune.
Okay, my brother Amal is in the chat. Amal, and it was everybody. It was Amal's idea. It's my older brother right here to get the Sega Master System. I'm a few years younger than him, but it was his idea to get the Sega Master System. And I don't know, bro. You could type in the chat. I don't know whose idea it was to get Fantasy Star, but we were just talking about how Fantasy Star borrowed from Dune because Fantasy Star had a forest world, it had a snow and ice world, and then it had a desert world with worms, with giant worms. So my brother says, "Sorry, I'm late. I still have to see the new Dune. It's fascinating that the original Dune production book inspired Hollywood in the 1970s and early 80s."
Yeah.
So
I
okay.
mean, I also suggest if you can, people see it on IMAX. I saw it on IMAX, and I saw it twice, and I saw it on regular screen, and the IMAX just give you the better experience. Like I mean, I'm a fan. Like I was a fangirl, but I was just it didn't feel like 2 hours. The movie is 2 hours. I know you said you were bored when you was watching Eternals. I wasn't bored with this movie. It
No,
went by so fast. I didn't think it was 2 hours.
yeah,
I didn't. I was like, "Oh, it's done already," and so. But a lot of people said that they weren't. They were. Most people weren't bored by it. So I'm glad.
yeah. That's and Kereen, we can end with this. Toya says, "I haven't seen any of them. Just here enjoying two smart people discuss." Thank you very much for that compliment, Toya.
Yeah, Dr. Dunbar is very definitely smart. I'm just like a fan.
Oh,
I'm just an average. I'm just just a
stop,
fangirl.
Kereen! Stop! 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 Stop!
I'm
Kereen,
just a fangirl.
I don't know if I could with your knowledge of Dune, I don't know that I could have carried the stream for an entire hour myself. So don't undersell what the value you're adding here. Everyone, please hit that like button. Me and Kereen are having a nice build here. So Kereen, so we kind of went through the storyline. So and then okay, so the Fremen, they have the blue eyes, because they're immersed in the spice.
Right.
And he's going to be. It looks like he's going to be their spiritual messiah.
Right.
And like I said, I haven't read past book one, and it's been years since I read this, so I'm not sure what we're going to see what in the second movie. But I think the thing me and you can agree on, and you said this in my discussion about the Eternals, you could tell when the director is a fan of the movie and the canon because they stay close to the source material. And as I was watching this, all the names, I hadn't read this book in about 15 years, 15, 20 years,
Right.
but all the names, Duncan Idaho, Gurney Halleck, Leet Kynes, Duke Leto Atreides, all the names came back right
Right.
away. So and all the iconic scenes like Paul putting his hand in the box,
In the box, yeah.
and also the doctor putting the tooth in the back of Duke Leto Atreides' mouth and telling him to
Right.
chew on it. I remember that, but I thought that this director did a really good job of staying close to the source material.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he when you listen to him, like I listen to their interviews as well. Like I said, I'm a fan fangirl, so I actually go into and I listen to them speak, and you could tell like how he always wanted to do this movie, and I'm glad he got to do it because this is what it was his dream. So when people love what they do, you could tell. And like I said, BGS said it on Art's channel few weeks back about when we were talking about Dune. He definitely could say that he could tell that Denny is a fan of it and read the books, and it showed in the movie. And I know a lot of people that were fans love the movie. I love the movie. I thought it was done very well. Everything. Even there was a scene in the movie where they first arrive on Dune, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody they're coming out the ship, and then they're Gurney Halliway, Josh Brolin character Thanos, opens a little Bible. That Bible is the orange Catholic Bible. Now, the fact that he had that in the scene, I was like, wow, I could tell he's a fan. Just by when I saw that scene, I was like, yes, this guy definitely read the book because those small details, and with the mouse, El Muhadim is a mouse,
Mm-hmm.
and they did with the mouse. When Paul was vision, because Paul has visions. Paul is a precog. He could see into the future. That's his power. And he kept on seeing the mouse and the way they showing the mouse and stuff to say that's gonna be his new name. Those scenes, those details are from people who like the book, who read the book, who's a fan, and that's one of the things I loved about this movie.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking. Okay, we have 2 more minutes before it's an hour. Let me see on my notes here if I have anything else. So, Kareem, are you hearing that this is going to be a two-parter? Someone wrote
Yeah,
in the
someone
chat
said
that it could be
a
a trilogy.
okay, according to Box Office Mojo, it made over 300 million worldwide. Now, I think if they only had it on in the movies, it would have done more.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't do it on streaming and movies, because they did it like two parts, I think would have made more. But because the fan loves it, it's the fan love, I think, made them are gonna do part two. And if part two does well, definitely gonna be a part three. And they're also doing a series on, I think, I forgot if it's Apple or if it's gonna be on no, I think it's on HBO Max. They're gonna do a series about the Bene Gesserit. Those are the nuns, the witches you said. They're gonna
Yeah.
do a in detail series about them to go. I think it comes out next year as well. So we'll have a Dune world. So more fans, I think, will be. We'll have more fans because if they're doing a series, I'm sure people they hopefully they do the series well. I hope the one of the showrunners that's in charge, of the, well, I don't know if she's still in charge of it, but as last time I read, she was on Originals, which was a vampire show.
Hmm.
So I think she might have the experience to do a good like sci-fi mystique, because they're mysterious. They're like they're an order. They're kind of like a religion too, because they're a secret order of nuns, and they train each other how to do certain things. So I think it'll be a good series.
Okay. Amal says, for me, a major theme of Dune is the European colonial push into Arab countries for materials and mining. Yeah, we touched upon that.
Yep.
That very much. You can
Colonizers.
throw Africa
Yep.
in there, and you can also throw North America in there,
Hmm.
in the way that there were people already living here on the continent, and there were other groups who came and took it over and displaced the people here. So yeah, there's very much um, that very much is a theme in this story.
Also religious manipulation with the Bene Gesserits, like how the what you call it, these people who used to go to Africa, the church, what you call this, missionaries. They
Hmm.
used to send missionaries to the places, and how the Bene Gesserit send their emissary to Dune for years, and to prop up this, oh, the Messiah is coming, the Messiah is coming, and to highlight Paul, to big him up as a, well, Paul used it to ascend to his to eventually ascend to becoming the Messiah. But it's a great, like, the themes in this story is good. It's just it resonate with everybody, could, because that's how our world is. If you look around the world from the past to now, even though we don't have colonial houses, we do have
Hmm.
elites that are really in charge. Like the houses are elite people, elite families that are in charge.
Yeah.
So it's a good it's a good story, and I think everyone that watches it will take something from it, and actually it could resonate, and it won't go over your head if you actually read the book first. Just, I wish I had read the book first. Well, I was a young kid, so probably I wouldn't be able to, but not once I read the book, everything was clear for me. The movie was just so much more for me.
Hmm. Yeah. And once again, everyone, we can't trust Hollywood to tell the stories the way they're supposed to be told anymore. So uh, sh- uh, we definitely want to acknowledge the producers and the director for this movie. Delmar Wilson says, timestamp 8:30 forward. This might have been when you came on the stream, Kereen. Her sentiments about the movie is what the director wants to hear. Okay. You know what, Kereen? I just thought of another one. I just thought of one more parallel slash maybe even an inspiration for Frank Herbert when he was writing this. And some people might cringe that I'm going here, but Jesus,
Right.
at least I don't remember it. I only saw the 2021 movie once, but last night watching the 1984 version, the Emperor and House Harkonnen, they were talking about, we have to keep an eye on Paul Atreides. We have to keep an eye on the sun.
Right.
That just reminded me of in the
Right.
Bible where
Right.
I forget which king it was, but we have to go look for the Messiah. He's coming out of
Right.
that town. We've got to go snuff him out before he rises to power.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what they did. They tried to kill off the whole family. They tried to kill off the whole family. Well, the Bene Gesserit had the hand in that too. Where she and the Emperor and the Duke Harkonnen did a side deal to protect to protect Lady Jessica, her her mentee, and Paul. But yeah, the book. The book is very, everyone could relate to this book, because, like, the world we live in it just represents the world we live in. Even though it's 10,000 years in the future, it does represent how human beings are.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it.
Well, good writing, good fiction, science fiction, it it should be, well, the good stuff is classically a commentary on today's world,
Right.
and what's happening in human themes, and just the numerous dynamics that are happening today, like economics, geopolitics, religion, uh, coordinating bloodlines, those kinds of things. So it should be that.
Yeah, even
It
the
should be that.
DNA manipulation. Now that they have gene editing, that's one of the themes in the book. The Bene Gesserits, they breed certain. They're breeding. They go to certain houses and breed certain people to and put them in place to affect whatever changes they want, to whoever they want to control. They put someone in there in that particular house, breed that a child to control them. They're so manipulative. I mean, and it's also like when I read that part, I'm like, you know what, this guy, he must have spoke to some psychologist or something when he wrote that book, because the soft power like that females have that they don't ever want to use, which they naturally do have. We naturally do have soft power. um and your words are powerful, guys. Words are powerful. So that's a good theme as well.
Okay. Well, Kereen, we are at hour 6 minutes. I have to do a show over on my sports channel around noon.
Right.
So that's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Just thank you for having me. Thank you for making your subs contribute to your platform. You know,
Oh, no, 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 no. I didn't make anybody do anything. I saw,
or
I noticed,
allowing
I
allowing
noticed, a
allowing your
couple months
subs to
ago,
contribute.
yeah, in I think with the Roger Report, you changed your name to Kereen of House Atreides. And I said, okay, Kereen, she's into Dune. And you've been coming over here, and this is all about collaboration. So we should, if we can, we should all build together. So it's, yeah, thank you
Well,
for coming and lending what you know about this.
listen, I love this. So excited. Thank you for having me. I want everyone to go watch it. Everyone that's listening, will go watch the movie. You'll have your own opinions, but I think you guys will love it. And I'm definitely excited for part two and even part three if it comes out as well. I'll be there.
Yeah, same here. And Kareem, we'll have to do this again. I mean, not just for Dune, but for other
Yeah,
things where we have common interests. And
right,
I don't have time to watch everything, but we have to
right.
do this again. I left you a message over there in the private chat.
Okay. All right,
So,
I'll read it. And also, thank you for uh allow me to come. I'm also reading Foundation as well, just so you know, because
okay,
they Frank Herbert and Asimov was supposed rivals, and you know what I mean. At that time, they kind of borrowed from each other. So I'm gonna read it.
okay,
I'm gonna read Foundation and see how it is, and I'll actually, if we do collaborate again, I can have like I could like comment on whether I found some similarities in their books.
okay. Not if, Kareem, when.
When, sorry, when.
So just briefly, I did read the first Foundation because one of the managers at my current job, when I first got there, we were on the elevator talking about science fiction. I like science fiction. He said, "Oh, have you ever read Foundation?" I was like, "No." And he came and gives me these three books, and I read the first one. Now just briefly, Foundation. That thing is psycho. What's it? Psycho.
Analyst cycle, whatever it's called. I'm just start reading it too, so
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't really BGS could tell you about this.
Yep.
I literally just started the other day. I might have to read it twice because that's how I do with books. I have to like take my time to
Yep.
like absorb it. So once I finish reading, I can be like, okay, let's talk about Foundation.
Okay.
I know there's a series on TV, but I don't want to watch a series. I want to read the book first, because my experiences when I watch the movie or the show before the book, and I go back and read the book. I'm like, why don't I read the book first? That's always my thing. So I'm just like, so let me read the book first, and then I'll go check out the series on I think it's on Apple TV.
Okay. Well, all right, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this one down. This was a fun discussion. Yeah, the movie just came out. If you want to watch it at home, I recommend watching it. I like going to the theater. The theaters are pretty empty, so you don't have to worry about um, getting anything if there's no one in there with you. So right now they're pretty empty. You can choose the seat you want. You could get in there and spread out. So thank you, Kereen, and we'll watch out for the next one. I know I have a pre-record that that's sitting on my pile that I just have to finish, and but there'll be more live streams as more stuff comes out, and the stuff is going to keep coming out. So
I like how this channel is growing, because when I started it was only like 100 subs, and now I think it's over 250. So it's
yeah,
growing.
yeah. Well, it's all about YouTube is a sweet science. Part of it
Yeah,
is being consistent. And I have 4 channels, so that's
there's a lot of work,
that's
and
a
then you
lot.
have a full-time job,
Yeah, and
so
I'm
it's
working
a
on a
lot.
book.
Yeah, and you're writing a
So
book. Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah, which I will talk about here at some point. But it's just time, and also some things take time just to gain traction. You know, um, this is very niche, and it just takes some time and effort. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of it. Corinne, take a look at that message in the private chat.
Okay, I will.
Uh,
I saw it. I'll put it on offline.
okay.
Okay.
So everyone, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on the playback, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to make a donation to the channel, that information will be below in the description box. And I think that's it. So everyone, stay safe out there. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. I think I'll take us out with the music in the intro again. I have to figure out if I'm gonna use the intro, use this montage for the beginning and the ending, or come up with a completely different ending. But for now, I'll take us out with this.